So kind of going back, I believe it was February 24th, Biden signed an executive order. And within that executive order, he definitely backed up support for the Jones Act. He mentioned it inside the language there. So the Jones Act, for those who are unaware, it stipulates that cargo moving from a U.S. port to U.S. port should be moved on a U.S. ship crewed by U.S. merchant mariners. So, the Jones Act has been in debate for shipping for quite some time. And now that is back on the scene, and you have the support of the president. So what is Mario, William, whoever wants to take it, John as well, I guess for everybody, what is your opinion about that? How do you think that that's going to affect shipping here domestically?
Well, I can start with that. I'm a product of the Jones Act. Massachusetts Maritime Academy graduate, and sailed on vessels both in the Jones Act trade and the international trade. The one thing that I can say, and I think that the ocean carriers, the international ocean carriers that are on this call listening in, the Jones Act does not affect the Port of Baltimore or any other port. You work together in these ports. And the Jones Act is not just, it's not exclusively to containers, it's the tugboats. It's these small businesses that work in and around the ports. It's your barges, it's your bunker barges. There's a lot of things that are associated with the Jones Act. Now, people would say, well, Biden's supporting the Jones Act. Yeah, of course he's supporting the Jones Act. He's always supported the Jones Act. He supported it when he was a senator. And under the Trump administration, let's just talk about the Trump administration for a second. The Jones Act was never on the table or a discussion in the White House since probably Richard Nixon when he built the San Clemente tankers. But there were high-level meetings within the White House with senators, with President Trump on the Jones Act. And the Jones Act wasn't waived. Now, as far as the Jones Act is concerned, because I know that it comes up, the Dutch bring it up, the Belgians bring it up, it comes up from a lot of the Europeans. It's not going to change. It may even get strengthened when we talk about wind energy. But what I would say is this, okay, outside of the Jones Act, and it's to the international carriers. Myself, I'm a big supporter of the alliances. The alliances that the ocean carriers are involved in, I am a supporter of. No one shipping company can service the entire world. So we need these alliances. But what I would also say to the international carriers is that we do have a new administration. This administration is going to focus on exports. And we've got to figure out the agricultural exports from the United States into the Pacific Rim. And whether it's a container shortage or not, the first thing you'll probably be asked walking through the door, the Department of Transportation or in the White House is, where are my farmers' exports? Can they get on that ship and get into the international market? And I would say that I think the ocean carriers, will step up and the ports will step up. And if it takes a working group to do it, then we should sit down and do it, because you don't want something like this legislated. We've got to figure it out and come up with a commercial solution.
I would agree with Bill's assessment. And I think the interesting question regarding what we're just discussing here is the absence of a national freight policy. We still do not have a national freight policy. If you look to the north, Canada has a national freight policy. If you look to the south, Mexico has a national freight policy. And those are two countries that compete very much for the goods movement component. Now, as far as California, California is the largest ag producer in the nation and exporter. 26% of what California produces in the ag industry is exported. So it seems to me that, again, aside from the Jones Act in terms of I agree with what Bill just said. I think this really goes down to the bottom line is we need a national freight policy to put all these priorities together. Because the last thing I'll say on that component is if nothing proved beneficial for us or should be beneficial for us from the health pandemic experience, COVID-19, is we now know that we cannot be totally dependent on the outsourcing question, particularly with certain products and commodities. So it's going to be an interesting question as we go forward. I have faith in the Biden administration that they're putting everything on the table with regard to this, including the trade tariff issue, which I think that my thought is that as they go further down the line, they'll use the trade tariff issue as leverage to address other aspects. So I don't think that this will be a permanent dynamic in this administration about the trade tariff issue. But I don't think it's going to end short term here.